Hi guys, I'm just sharing this rather amazing, wonderful story with you. I'm here on the Mail online, and this is a story about Tony Rook, who has just made, well, in my opinion, he's just made history. And this is a massive victory for all the 911 truthers who have been fighting since 2001. And we've been saying that it was a false flag, the media was involved, and there's a lot of things going on. This guy, Tony Rook, has refused to pay his TV licence, which goes directly to the BBC. And he said that he's withholding his payment under the Section 15 of Terrorism Act 2000, which says the BBC are funding terrorism. Now, his proof of this is because he watched the events unfold like we all did on 911. And this is the piece of evidence that he was bringing to court with him to say why he was withholding those funds from the terrorist BBC. I'm not sure if you know, but some people don't actually know. On the day of 911, actually 3 buildings fell, 3 buildings went down. They were the Twin Towers and also World Trade Center. 7 fell down. On this BBC report here, the lady here is reporting on this building falling, and she's telling her colleague here about it. The thing with this story, while she's explaining that the building has fallen, you can actually see the building is still, there behind her. So I'm just going to show you that little bit now.
Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York, behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris from 110 floors of the two.
So she's talking about World Trade Center 7 falling, and she's saying other buildings in the area were also affected by the Twin Towers. So as she's talking, here she is. The building behind her is the building that's supposed to have collapsed that she's talking about. So I'm just going to play it, forward it a bit. So as we pan into this picture here, this is the building that they're talking and they're saying has collapsed. But obviously it hasn't. The BBC reported the building going down a whole 23 minutes before the building had collapsed, which makes you think, how involved are the media? On this day, they were so involved, they even messed up the report. How can you report on a building falling 23 minutes before it's gone down? I'm sorry, that's impossible. That tells me that they knew about it. Okay, so this is the reason why the man is saying that he's not going to pay his TV licence, because the BBC did this, which is proof that 911 something wasn't going right, and he had that as part of his evidence in court to say why he wasn't going to pay his TV licence. The judge said he didn't want to see the information and he didn't want to see the evidence because he was aware of what Tony Rook was going to show. So the judge just shut down the case, told him he had to pay £200 costs and gave him a conditional discharge. So basically they shut down the case just so they wouldn't have to show this evidence in court, which would have proved that BBC were quite complicit in all this. There's the building there, guys. It's still there. There's the building that was supposed to have collapsed. This reporter is telling you that the building is gone, but it's there.
Smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline,
Here's the
a
building.
symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New Yorkers still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
Right, so that's terrible. There's the building. They're telling you it's gone. It hasn't. So it makes you think, what else did the media lie about that day? Right? Something else I want to show you here that I noticed. Now, this studio that they're in, this thing just isn't going to work for me now. Just want to show you just one thing, the studio that they're in. I thought to myself, I recognise that studio because I've done another video before, and I thought, where have I seen that studio before? The same screen. Notice the screen here. You've got the two pillars and you can see into another office. There's the main table here, and also the little light behind here. You can see there's an uplight, a raised light, yeah, just there. And I thought to myself, I really recognise that studio. And then I thought back to another video that I'd done, which was about another false flag attack, 7/7. And I thought about a video that I'd made there, and the same thing happened there. In there, there was supposed to be a BBC report about a future biological attack that was going to happen to London. And I thought to myself, I went back to that and I had a look at it, and it's just strange that this was supposed to be, you know, acting, and this is their studio where they were doing a spoof report. And I just found it really strange that it's the same studio where they were doing the spoof of 9/11 and the spoof of the World Trade Center 7 falling. It's exactly the same studio. See the light there, same screen, see the pillars, there's the table, it's exactly the same. So is this their little special ops room? Is this where they do all their little fake news from at the BBC? Yeah? I just found that really weird. And you can see it's the same. Exactly the same studio. So that's a bit weird. But as for the rest of the story, this guy, he's a hero, in my opinion. Absolute hero. And could you imagine if we all started to go to court and do this and didn't pay our TV licence because we knew the BBC had lied about 911 and they were funding terrorism under Section 15 2000 Act? Right, make sure you share this story because I think it is a really, really massive win for us today. And well done that man, Tony Rook.